I've been trying to keep up on your interviews over the past week or so that I don't just repeat a bunch of questions that you've been asked. So
that's okay. That's okay. I'll try to not repeat answers I've given.
oh, I know they beat me to the Tom Cruise one. Rolling Stone did, man. I was pissed, but
yeah, that's fine. I got plenty of Tom Cruise sound bites in the chamber.
I'm sure. All right, I want to get started. I think the people need to know, why did you write such a short movie? Why couldn't you guys put together a 3-hour and 50-minute spectacle here?
The runtime, well, the original script was 400 pages, and no, and Sam, to his credit, was always really pushing for a shorter runtime. Mm-hmm. And he felt that the movie needed to move because of just how it was structured. It's a chase movie. It's an adventure. It's got some, it's got some Jurassic Park DNA, just in the sense that it's like, oh, shit goes wrong, we're on the run. And so in a movie like that, it just didn't feel like we needed 3 hours of it. My threshold for boredom is so low, and astronomically low. And so I just am I have a phobia of the movie becoming exhausting. And so, once we're off to the races in this one, we just wanted to get on the ride and go on the ride. And when it's over, get out of there.
I thought that worked well. Like I got that chase scene. You don't have time to stop. Like you said, it's a chase film. You don't have time to stop and chill and sniff around a little bit. You got to get moving. There's a lot going on. I know Sam talked about there being like a little bit longer movie. So when the Raimi cut comes out, it'll probably be like 40 minutes of Rintra scenes that'll be added back in.
There's some Rintra on the cutting room floor. But look, that's just meat on the bone for the next go around. But it was never, we were never really doing like wholesale surgery on the movie. We're just making it better. Mm-hmm. It was just, it always felt like, this is working. Can we make it work better? Can we make it excellent? Which is a good, heading into additional photography and reshoots, it felt like the good situation to be in.
Yeah. I have a question that everyone asks about Marvel secrets and Marvel security. I'm on the side that I'm on, you're on the side that you're on. But I feel like over the years, and this really came to a head with No Way Home, there's like an inherent distrust that's been created in anything anybody from Marvel Studios says now. Anything anybody says, people can't take it at face value. They see it as a lie. I don't know that I have like a real great question here. I'm just curious about your take. Like, I just read the Rolling Stone interview. You said Cruise was just like, hey, this would be cool if we could get him, but it was never there. He was never there. There are no cut scenes. But like, people still believe that's just you being deceitful, right? And it's just created such this weird online culture. I just wonder what your take is on this whole thing.
Well, that is true, but if people want to, I like the idea that it can be mythologized otherwise. I have so much respect for what you do, for what everybody, all the fan sites do, because that was the shit that I grew up reading. Like, I'm such a child of like coming attractions by Corona, like the Ain't It Cool News, like that stuff is probably a big reason why I'm a writer. So like the scoop culture, to some extent, I'm like, okay, great. That's part of it. I think that, it's our job. We want to preserve these secrets because it just makes a better experience in the theater. The audience you're going to get a better pop from the audience if they don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, you can really it's if you spend a lot of time online, you can come to think that if something's spoiled on a corner of the internet, that suddenly the whole world knows.
Right.
But they don't. It's the people who are actively seeking that out and who want to find that stuff. And if they want to find it out, that means it's probably going to enhance their enjoyment of the movie.
Mhm.
And the people who don't want to find out probably aren't. It's like I would be mad if it was headline news on CNN,
Right.
who was in the Illuminati, but it's not. It's there's spoiler warnings, and you know where you're going if you go to a spoiler website. So I think it's just like this is what we do. It's like the symbiotic nature of this stuff, and it just builds anticipation and excitement. I think it's cool.
Well, I've never been, and this includes being in the Infinity War premiere. I've never been in a theater that got the audience reaction that Krasinski got at the premiere when he showed up. I have no idea what he said. I haven't been able to see it a second time yet, so I don't even know what Krasinski's lines were.
I know you. I really have not been on. It's a matter of policy. Just haven't been on Twitter. But I did see. I had a message from you asking what he said, and what Strange says is, "Didn't you guys chart in the '60s?"
Okay, because there were guys on the website were like, "Oh, that's a reference to them being in the '60s," and I was like, "I don't think so. I don't think they gave that away in this little."
It's just Strange doing bits. That's part of the fun is, and that line that was a line that Benedict riffed on the day, I think. But it's the audience can't believe what they're seeing, but you gotta see it through Doctor Strange's eyes. He could give two shits. These people.
who the Illuminati are.
The only one he really takes seriously is, Mordo and the captain.
Yeah. So speaking of the Illuminati, I read in the Rolling Stone interview, you talked about them for a while, and I were they in your first draft, like way back when, I guess it was February when you got pulled on? Was that something you put in right away, or was that something that developed as the movie developed? Like, I know COVID hit, you guys had a lot of time to kind of back off and really create. So was that like an original idea, or did that come in that downtime?
I would say that came in the very first draft of when we started over from scratch. So what, what became the movie,
mm-hmm.
They were in the first draft of that. They weren't even in the outline. I think, as I said, it was like just me sitting in my living room being like, oh man, I probably, as I said, me feeling bored by my own second act.
Mm-hmm.
In Rick and Morty, Mike McMahon, who created Star Trek Lower Decks and Solar Opposites, he was the showrunner on the season I wrote for, and he coined a term, the duck bill, where it's like you've got the story circle, Dan Harmon's story circle,
mm-hmm.
but around like 7 or 8 o'clock on that story circle, we always try to do a duck bill, where it's like the story doesn't just proceed linearly, like linearly or in a regular curvature way. It actually like duck bills out, and it's like the movie gets drunk.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like we needed at that point. And somehow it stayed in there the whole way.
I think it's great. I don't know if you've seen it. There's like a growing sentiment online that comic book movies are being too comic booky, which is strange to me as a guy who grew up reading comics and loves comics still to this day. So for that to be in there, that's maybe one of my favorite second acts in the MCU so far because of that, because you drew on something that was so heavily influenced from the comics.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And that was it's a testament to Kevin, who got behind the idea and thought it could be cool, and Sam and our DP John Matheson and our editors who figure out, it is ultimately a guy standing opposite several stationary characters.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a master of the camera like Sam to make mm-hmm. that visually dynamic. And Sam was always really, he was like, I know the audience is going to be excited to see these people, but it can't just be boring exposition.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out a way to make it visually dynamic. And so they pushed me and we all pushed each other to make sure the scene was there for a reason. Yeah, it was a blast.
It was great. I don't want to spend all day on them, but I do have like 2 more Illuminati related questions for you. Maybe a third one, depending on how you answer. So you said that was right in the first draft. And I know you said over time, you like pitched some ideas. One of the early leaks that came out had like Balder being a member of the Illuminati, and another one was like Magneto. Is there any truth to any of those guys ever having once been in a draft or in the hopper as an idea?
There were lots of names discussed.
Yeah.
And is all I'll say. I guess this is why nobody trusts anybody from Marvel. There were plenty
all right.
Discussed.
So now looking at Krasinski, and obviously everyone has been fan casting him forever. My takeaway from it was he was he resembles Hickman's Reed, and the way that he talked, not just that he was talking about incursions, but even just the delivery was very much, to me, like pulled from Hickman's Reed. Was that deliberate? Did that just work out that way?
Yes, I have to. I think I still have to be deliberately cagey for one more weekend about the specifics about these actors and everything. But it was really trying to draw on that Hickman version of the Illuminati.
Okay.
And how they dealt with incursions. But that specific character I love deeply, and was excited to collaborate with that actor on, and figure out how to bring him to life.
Hickman's Fantastic Four stuff is my favorite comic book stuff of all time. I reread it probably once a year, and then like the new Avengers incursion stuff is amazing. So it sounds like you're a fan too of Hickman's stuff. Not getting into any specifics, but it's very dense scientifically. And as you try to adapt that for general audiences, what kind of problems do you come across? I mean, it's hard to just dive that deep into that stuff, right?
Oh, he's such a genius. You can't, I mean, the truth is you can't, certainly not in that short scene. It's like, you just have to go top line. Here's the threat, and there's the threat, and it's out there. And now it's out there.
Yep.
There's a multiversal threat, in the same way that when the MCU first went cosmic many years ago, there was the teed up threat of, Thanos. Now it's probably a matter of just you're setting up some multiversal threats on the board, whether it's Kang, incursions, whatever. It'll be interesting to see how all those things ultimately come together.
Yeah, and last time we talked, which is almost a year ago now, I had an inkling of where it's going, and this just makes me, and not just me, but a lot of other fans feel like there's a particular endpoint that we're looking at here, which is really exciting. But I'm not going to bust you on that one again today.
Didn't say. I have no idea. Genuinely.
I have a question that came from one of my writers. So Strange, in the first movie, we find out the Eye of Agamotto is the Time Stone. The Time Stone is now gone. Do you, as the writer of this movie, have any insight as to how or if that thing still functions for anything other than a pretty sweet necklace?
The Eye of Agamotto?
Yeah.
I mean, it did more than just, and we dove into this in the comics, and I'm sure there's people who know much more about it than me. But it did more than just, it has more magical properties than just the ability to conceal the Time Stone. And it is a magical relic, amulet, weapon, whatever you want it to be for Steven. That's what he uses, for instance, to reveal Gargantos, who was initially invisible in its rampage down the streets of New York. So it's there. And there was a line at one point, it's not in that, it's like we riffed it on the day from Christine when she hands it to, she's like, here's your weird jewelry. Because it was like we were like maybe the Strange in the other universe didn't have an Eye of Agamotto.
Right. We're there. Speaking of other universes, we get like 3 pretty hardcore here. Were there other ones that maybe were in the script that didn't work out that he would get to visit that you'd like to get maybe a chance to have revisited?
There were a few, and there were versions where it's like, maybe you were running through a few more, but it always felt, I was always much more interested in, Sam was much more interested in really investing in a smaller number of universes. In the same way that I think a Star Wars movie is better when you go to fewer planets and really live on those planets, as opposed to planet hopping and not really feeling like you've gotten to know any of the places. We were like, let's get to know the couple of places we go really well.
I want to ask you about a couple of characters that were rumored, not in like the cameo bit, but rumored to have been like maybe leads or supporting leads in the script who definitely were not in there. Well, Clea was one of them, and she did make it into the mid credits. But we heard early on that Clea and Jericho Drum might be in the movie. Were they ever in there, and then they worked their way out because they didn't serve the story?
I think Clea has always been on the table. I think there was definitely discussion of Jericho Drum, but never in anything that I worked on.
Okay. And Clea looked amazing. That was, I can't imagine the amount of secrecy the day that, I assume it was just a day that Charlize was on set. Unbelievable. Like nobody, that was amazing. Nobody really, there were rumors, but the kind of rumors you don't believe, right? So that was great.
That was cool that we got to pull that off. She's amazing. And what a cool thing for the future.
Oh my gosh. One of the characters like that, like you said, she's always there. And now her arrival leaves so much on the table.
It's rare it's like she feels like one of the few like real heavy hitter characters from the comics that like hasn't been, her Namor, like it's dwindling the like big time people we haven't seen before, and she's one of them to me.
Yep. And in Stranger Circle, she's probably the heaviest hitter left, right? That's great. The post-credit scene of the first one had Mordo going on basically a sorcerer hunt, and then we really didn't see like any 616 Mordo here. Was there ever a part of the script where he existed, or was it mostly just let's get Steve into this other dimension where he meets that Mordo?
No, there was, and we talked about that history and what had happened, and we explored ways to would it be interesting to intertwine him with this story, but ultimately I think that it felt like that was a story better left for another day. He's out there. What's happened between them, we don't know. What will happen between them, we don't know, but I think we're certain to find out.
And I want to ask you before we run out of time, a little bit about the creative process with you and Sam. I know I read some stuff where, like you said, you wrote about like Zombie Strange, but then when you see Zombie Strange, it's very influenced by Sam stuff. And even like the demon souls that are talking and the way they're talking, that's very influenced by Sam stuff. So I'm just curious about like the back and forth there. You pitch an idea. How does he come in and make that then like, so it looks Raimi-esque when it ends up on film?
Sam and I's collaboration was complete and beautiful in the sense that we were just sharing a brain. It felt like by the end of it, because we worked so closely through such a weird, challenging time. And I was always trying to write through the lens of this is a Sam Raimi movie. And so when I wrote Dead Strange and Strange possessing his own corpse, I tried, it looked exactly how I hoped it would look, that in a Sam type way. the demonic souls, that was all Sam's idea. That wasn't in my, that was Sam pitching that back to me and saying, could we do this? And then me building it and trying to build some logical scaffolding to do this really cool thing that he wanted to do. And so that it was, that might be a great example of how we both just worked to realize one another's ideas. But ultimately, because it's Sam Raimi and he's one of the greatest directors to ever do it, it's, I just felt so confident. I felt like I could write anything because he was going to make it look amazing.
Yeah, and it did. That visually one of my favorite movies. I have to see it again, but it's for sure. I know it's a top 5 for me. I'm a huge Raimi fan. Before I let my daughters go see it, we had to sit down and watch a couple of his movies with them so that they could really appreciate it and get some of those influences. So listen, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate talking to you. Are you getting ready? Are you doing Heels season 2 right now? Are you working, or are they just filming?
Yeah, we're shooting season 2. We're like over halfway through season 2 of Heels. It's excellent. The story is great. The cast is unbelievable. There's
cast is amazing.
Like that. To have that ensemble cast is so great. So yeah, really excited about that one.
Yeah, Wild Bill is one of my favorite new characters introduced on TV in like the last 10 years. I absolutely love that guy.
He's got some great stuff this season, so I'm excited for everybody to see it.